What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about Lucid, I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what's really moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to just hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid's down 2.16%, 1743 the low, 1791 the high, and 5.7 million shares being traded. So still not that much volume. So yesterday's volume was definitely abnormal. So it's always unfortunate that Lucid puts out good news on like horrible type of scenario, market kind of conditions. Nonetheless, though, Lucid's doing fairly well in comparison to, for instance, Tesla, which is down about 4%, and Rivian's down 4.6%. So in comparison, Lucid's doing good, still not great whatsoever. And a lot of this fear in the broader market is coming from Powell and a lot of big companies unveiling their earnings, all kind of signaling that there's some cracks coming from more consumers out there. So not all that great, unfortunately. Plus, you do have a lot of big names out there really saying that the market assumed too many cuts and potentially even started to price in even a December cut whatsoever before even listening to Powell. So at the end of the day, I think the market does need to come to a realization that we might only be getting the 2 cuts. Because bringing it back to, let's say, for instance, 2024, going into 2025, you had everyone and their dog assuming that we're going to have 8 cuts. It was crazy stuff. And turns out we only had the 2. And even still, you have a lot of big names saying for 2026, we're going to have, I think it was like 6 to 7 cuts. So most likely, just the market automatically assumes too much. And so I think in general, not getting a December cut is really going to hurt a lot of growth stocks and as well the EV market, which is very sensitive to interest rates. So a cut in December would have been good because that 7,500 credit did kind of go poof. And not only that, we've had Trump dangling a carrot saying, hey, I'm going to adjust tariffs, but nothing really came out. If anything, he kind of hit Canada with more. So that does really affect a lot of the auto sector. So not all that great. When it comes down to Lucid, there was no news today, no SEC filings or anything. You did see this posted on social media. So 𝗪𝗧 is thanking our partners. And honestly, I don't know why. I just kind of feel bad for 𝗪𝗧 because they always tag all the appropriate kind of companies, so Nvidia, Uber, Lucid. When Lucid has announced this and when they've brought it up on their social media, they never tag 𝗪𝗧. So I always kind of feel bad for 𝗪𝗧, but I think in comparison, they are kind of the underdog. But seeing this post, it does also give some insight to how that deal is going to be done, because we know that Lucid and Nvidia have their thing. We have Lucid, Uber, and 𝗪𝗧 doing their thing. My question over the last couple of videos have been like, how is this all going to work? Are they all going to work together as one giant happy family? Seeing this post, clearly all 4 are going to be working together, which is good. Only bad thing is, as much as I think a lot of Lucid investors love like to boast saying, hey, Lucid has the best tech and blah, 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 which I'm guilty of that sometimes as well, saying that Lucid has phenomenal tech. From what I can see, it looks like Nvidia is partnering with almost everyone who is wanting to kind of get into that kind of field. And same goes for Uber. So for those of you that have kind of tuned into Uber's announcements, Lucid was nothing special. They are now just a number. Like Uber has partnered with numerous kind of companies, one being even Stellantis. And so technically Uber, Stellantis, and Nvidia have their thing going on as well. So Lucid kind of just feels, to me, coming from an investor, it just was overhyped. Like initially, like Lucid was the first one announced, so it made it seem like it was special, that it was one of a kind. But even listening in, I did bring this up like a long time ago during Uber's most recent earnings call. They even said, hey, we're going to be partnering with everyone. So I think in general, Lucid, even though this is a good pat on the back, it's still one of many kind of deals. So Lucid really needs to kind of do good and fulfill those 20,000 because it'd be a lot more advantageous to be out there first. Nonetheless, though, it is what it is. Looking at shorts are increasing 484,000 shares, 31.2% of the free float's being shorted, works out to be 39.7 million shares overall being shorted. So shorts aren't really doing too much, especially given the circumstances. And I see a lot of people on social media blaming shorts for Lucid's downfall. And as much as I really did like Lucid's news that came out yesterday, it really shows what's coming in the foreseeable future. It is a future catalyst, not right now. And this is something that Lucid has always struggled with. Even back in 2023, when Lucid pushed the gravity back, I said, hey, that was supposed to be like a short-term catalyst. Now we have a solid year and a half to wait for the gravity. And no different than right now. Like Lucid, for the last several earnings, has been just talking about mid-size. That's all they care about. So technically, we have to wait a solid, even from now, a year for that catalyst to come to fruition. So that's something that Lucid does do absolutely horribly, is give short-term catalysts. And so it really does test those short-term kind of traders, and it forces a lot of people to be long-term investors for Lucid. But to play devil's advocate, clearly that has not worked out all too well, because over the last 1 year, down 24.5. And if you did have that long-term mentality 5 years ago, you're down 81.7%. So, and that's even technically only counting this at $96. That's, of course, post reverse stock split. So when it comes down to it, not all that great. Looking at the options, 2.5 million in calls, 4.4 in puts, and then 65% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. So not necessarily the best. Coming from a bull standpoint, you see consensus for it to be above 1950. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 17 and then sub 16 going into next week. So full-on breakdown is anticipated. Keep in mind, November the 7th, that would be including their earnings. So you see a lot of bearishness going into their earnings, which isn't all that great. So it might be a good opportunity to those individuals that want to buy the dip. You might see a dip happen when it comes down to that. And I still, as I've mentioned in the past, tail end of Q3 or beginning of Q4 is when I did feel that they will be diluting. So I think for a timeline, they might announce something potentially right after their earnings, which of course, as what we've seen in the past, market generally does not like. So far on the secondary market, you see 3 transactions, all sales. So institutions aren't really buying the Lucid dip whatsoever. So it looks like they kind of concluded their buying from the last 2 days. These are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So still not really that crazy of transactions whatsoever. So it goes to show that shorts and algorithmic trading are making up for the majority of the volume today, with it right now at 1756. This is where it's breaking down quite a lot. So it is currently trading between this S1 and this S2. So 1765. Lucid really needs to close above that. If not, then you will be seeing most likely that 1545 being the next strong support. So things definitely are breaking down from a bear standpoint. That's what they are kind of anticipating for it to be kind of next. So it's really just crappy. Like Lucid again puts out good news, just the market's like completely selling off like crazy. So let me know your viewpoint and if you're buying the Lucid dip or if you're kind of just taking a step back. Aside from all of that fun stuff though, on the actual chart, I think the curse of the 50-day moving average is kind of coming to fruition still. So as I kind of signaled, even way back when it was at that $21 range, that most likely we could be hitting that like $17.50 to potentially even $16 range. And so I think the writing was on the wall. A lot of people didn't necessarily believe it at the time, but it does look like it is fully coming to fruition. There hasn't been any new analyst ratings. So last one was on October the 17th. No articles really coming out about Lucid, so nobody's really talking about it. So it's just now at the mercy of the broader market. But one thing that I've mentioned over the last little bit, if you do truly believe in Lucid, look at doing long calls. So for instance, if you feel that Lucid can get back to, let's say, that $21 range by throwing out December, you can make a solid 67% on a long call versus roughly 20% from the common stock. So if you believe in Lucid and want to buy the dip, consider doing options. Or if you actually feel that more downside is coming, let's say it's going to go down to 13, you can make 78% on your put versus 23%. So definitely take the time to research that. But from the market position, on a side note for today, especially comparing it to yesterday, you see not much change from the willing sellers, but the willing buyers did go kind of away. So it looks like we don't have any willing buyers pretty much up until around that 1623. So that might be the next stopping point potentially. We do have a lot of big names unveiling their earnings after hours today. So that could really push it there, or prompt a nice recovery. So let me know your viewpoint on Lucid. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put it daily, day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.